welcome back to the UIA Trusted Partners Podcast. On today's very special episode, I am tapping into the media world. In fact, I have Greg Good, Marketing Strategy Lead with Summit Media. Greg, how are we doing today?
Dylan, thanks for this. This is going to be fun.
I'm excited.
Wow, did you switch into your radio voice there pretty good?
Oh, I know it, man. I surprise people with that all the time. That, outside the air, I'm kind of talking. I don't really have much inflection going on, but the minute that microphone goes on, you got to be on.
There's, when I'm listening to our DJs talking on the radio and then they walk out to get their coffee or do whatever they need to do, it's a whole different voice. So,
yeah. I always laugh that every time you hear somebody on the air, you always have a mental picture. Anytime you meet somebody who's on the air, they are never that mental picture.
A face for radio.
Exactly right. Oh, I love it. Now, Greg, diving into things for our listeners who might be a little from out of town or maybe not quite familiar with the Omaha area and the media markets that are around here, what is Summit Media and where all do you encompass?
Sure. So Summit Media, we don't brand anything with Summit Media other than, hi, I'm Greg Good with Summit Media.
Love it.
Everybody knows us by our radio stations.
Yeah.
And the 5 we have here in town is the big one, Z92.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got Classic Rock 105.9. And I'm going to show my age by
Bob and Tom.
No, I'm going to show it by saying it's CD 105.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So people recognize it that way. But it's Classic Rock 105.9. Channel 94.1, that's for the little bit younger listeners, and then Star 104.5, which is our Christmas station during the holidays, Christmas
Very
music.
Cool.
And yes, that starts on November 1st at 12:01 a.m. and goes through the rest of the season.
So I have to know, being the former disc jockey myself, does Star just take the Christmas music from all the other stations, or do the other stations still have to play some Christmas music and all that?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. I was like, I might throw you for a loop on that one because I just remember, there was no dedicated station when I had that opportunity. It was everybody's got to listen to it, and it starts from that midnight.
Exactly.
It makes it a long year, but.
And then for the sports people, the jocks and such, we've got AM 590, the ESPN channel, and the home of the Huskers. So we get to deal with all of the football, the volleyball, the basketball, which is going on right now. And then, of course, baseball will pick up in the spring. Yeah,
showing a little bit of my age here as well. I have done a little bit of work with the ESPN side of your guys' radio. So back in the day, I would do sports calling events. I would be announcing different basketball, football game, what have you, and then I would have to call into the radio network show, the Husker Radio Network show, and just give score updates, do the whole gambit.
Oh my!
And so by the time it was like 11:30 at night, you were done. So it made for some long nights that night, but all phenomenal shows, and I really do appreciate a lot of these radio stations here in town because Classic Rock 101 or 105.9 is actually one I grew up with, and jokingly, I've mentioned Bob and Tom because they were, I don't know if they were, I think I had my numbers mixed up. I think they were 101.5. Okay. And it was a recorded show, like a syndicated show that they would put on. But very, very fun stuff and very kind of diverse, broad band of signals that you guys have. You guys pretty much have a one for each audience.
And that's the intent. Yeah. Because when we're helping our clients, we need to get their messaging in front of the right audience.
That's right.
And if you're trying to talk to me, channel 94.1 is probably not the one you're
might not be the right one.
Correct. Yes. And I'm running my hand in front of my face. So this is not I'm not the audience for those guys.
Yeah. I think I've maybe barely fall into that audience myself. It's never been my forte. I grew up in the very Sandhills region. So there was a lot of rock and roll, a lot of classic rock. And, country music, of course.
Yep.
But for our listeners who might not know, you, of course, offer 4 main services when it comes to these. It's not just radio. You guys actually encompass quite a bit more.
Right.
The main one, of course, radio. You also have digital. You also let people sponsor events and get involved with events and help plan those out for some folks. And video is even a part of that. Now, I'd love for you to kind of touch on these for a moment, and can you kind of attest to these of how these services can help and work in tandem with businesses to help them grow.
Absolutely. So, excuse me, the radio and digital are the 2 big 800-pound gorillas in our arsenal. Radio is going to be, if you picture a funnel, the top of that sales funnel is the wide mouth of it is the branding and awareness. That is getting your message out to the audience, of course, tailored towards the stations you're using, but getting that message out in a way so that when somebody thinks of you, they remember it. So 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. That's ingrained in my till the day I die, probably.
Yep.
But that's Burger King. Bam,
Exactly.
there it is. So what we're trying to do is get that messaging for you to your audience. So when they're hungry, when they're thirsty, when they need a car, when they need home improvement needs, they think of you. That's where radio is at.
Yeah, and I think a one that kind of goes by the wayside, a lot of times people think you just have to have a commercial. You don't always have to have just a commercial on the radio. A lot of times those mentions and the sponsorships, like weather sponsors or sports sponsors, those can be huge, and you can get a lot of value off of those.
Yes, or drive time sponsorships.
Absolutely.
Or we have studio sponsors.
Yeah.
Literally 5 seconds, 5 or 10 seconds, top of the hour, every hour of the day.
Yep, I was going to say you'd probably hear something along the line of Classic Rock 101.5 or 105.9 brought to you by or broadcasting live out of the Burger King studio or whatever have you.
Yes,
but
exactly.
Yeah, it sounds something like that, which I think is such a great tool for a lot of local business owners to help utilize. Because again, like you had said, it's getting your name where you need it to be, first of all. So having the right sponsorship is key there on the right station. So sponsorships on that radio side, don't just think when we say radio, just a commercial. You're not just a commercial out there. Think of a good conversation to have with somebody like Greg here to talk to you some good options in the radio side.
Yes. And the beauty of radio is it's what we call invasive. And by that, I simply mean whether you are paying attention to it or not, your eardrums are still moving.
Oh, yeah.
And your mind is still recognizing, or your brain's still hearing that. So when it comes to the recall, if you're hungry, thirsty, or looking for a place to eat, that's going to bring it to the top of mind.
I still have, funny enough, a commercial from a Grand Island radio station. Growing up, T-shirt Engineers is the name of the company. They'd probably been advertising since I've been alive. But they had a jingle that it's still into my brain. I can literally sing you the cadence of that jingle to this day. And I probably haven't heard it for 15 years.
Yes.
But it just shows that impact, the powerfulness of repetition. So not to digress too far off of what we were talking about here, but that is the radio side of things. Now, going into the digital, obviously that's a lot of today's world. That's going to be a lot of website mentions. What else can we kind of get off of that?
Sure. So digital is the great big umbrella term when nobody knows what to really call it.
Thank you.
So digital, just to name a few things, it can encompass an email marketing program, geofencing, SEO, SEM. Yes,
gotcha.
I'm getting into the weeds.
Oh, but hey, that's what we want because business owners listen to this show and business owners are on this show.
Absolutely.
It's important to know these things.
So, and no one medium is the best for marketing.
Agreed.
All of them is the best.
Yes.
And all of them run in conjunction, in tandem, parallel, if you will, so that wherever you're at, you're hearing it. So where I'm going with that is you get a radio jingle or a radio ad that's going on throughout the week. You've heard it 30, 50 times throughout the week. And then all of a sudden, I need some more information. Maybe the company does an email blast program. We do that email for them, send out the message. 10% of those will open the message. And then once they open, we can then start throwing display ads to their devices, whether it's their phone, their iPad, and wherever they're going to go to look up information or see information, your display messages starts coming up to them. So it's a little bit invasive there, if you want to call it that.
But it's a little more targeted.
It's absolutely targeted, yes. I can target specific zip codes, specific age ranges, interests. Do they have a travel interest? Do they have they been looking at mortgages?
Right, yeah.
Did they just buy a house for home improvements? Do they have dogs, kids, all of that? And we could target that and then get the message for my clients in front of that right audience.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people miss that step. They just think if I get my name into the aether here, people are going to hear it. And you're absolutely correct. You have to have intentionality with where you direct that message and where you send that message into the aether. Because granted, you're always just sending it out there.
Yes.
But if you're not purposeful about it, you don't know what to do with it, you're just saying it to say it, you're never going to hit the audience you ever want.
Right. It's like me walking into XYZ location and talking about something that's tailored towards ABC.
Yep.
And you can spend millions of dollars throwing it at the XYZ guys, and you're never going to get results.
Yep, because you've been looking at XYZ when you've needed ABC the whole time.
Yes.
Yep. And I think that's just where a good conversation with somebody like yourself, when somebody is kind of in this process of where do I start, where do I go, I think that's where it really is impactful and key for those businesses.
Let me give you an example. We had a blank. We had
a blank.
We had a blank.
Yeah.
It was a recruitment agency. They came to us and said, we want to be on channel 94.1 and get our message out there for people to come and use our services. Okay, great.
Very specific.
Let's have a conversation. Yeah, let's have a conversation. Through our conversation with them, they have two audiences. The businesses, which they call the clients.
Sure.
And the customers, which are the applicants, the job hunters.
Gotcha.
So their message for this was to get in front of the clients, the businesses, the business owners, the HR directors.
Interesting. Okay.
Owners, hiring managers, all that. So we asked them, 94.1, how did you arrive at that? Well, we've surveyed all of our people coming in, and a good majority of them were listening to 94.1. They heard us about us through there.
Okay.
Or that's what the station they listened to. Clarify for me who was walking in, and come to find out it was the people filling out the applications.
Yep, not the ones they were actually after.
They want people to come to them to get jobs, but their thrust was to get to the people who were trying to hire them. So we did some analysis, looked at their audience, compared it to our stations, and did essentially a blind results. And two of our stations were my hands above my head for visual purposes.
Oh, we got camera. We're good.
So the stations that were perfect for what they wanted were Z92 and Classic Rock 105.9. The station that was bottom of the list for what they were trying to target was 94.1 because it tailored towards the audience that was trying to get hired.
Right.
Which,
by their data, was the ones coming in.
It was accurate.
Yeah.
We want to get them on that station to talk to those people who are looking for jobs.
Absolutely.
But the focus for this project, this campaign, was to get more businesses talking to them. So we got them on those two stations, and it is running very nicely.
Love that. I love that. And again, just some of that comes about because of a conversation.
Yes.
I can't be more clear about that. And, just from my time in radio to what I see business owners on a daily just have confusion about, sometimes you just need to have a conversation with somebody more skilled in that profession.
Or just simply ask why.
Yeah. That's a great question.
Just
ask why.
Just ask why.
Yeah.
Why do you think that happens? Why are you looking
Why
at
are you
that
telling me I need video? Why are you telling me I need to sponsor an event? There's questions that you can ask that are going to get you good answers. So I love that. Now, of course, I just mentioned a couple more. Events and video are things that you guys offer with Summit Media as well.
Event side is you have an event. I'm trying not to pick on particular advertisers right now because I might get it wrong.
We'll just say we got a fundraiser coming up.
Yeah. So we got a fundraiser coming up, and that fundraiser, that nonprofit wants to get their message out.
Absolutely.
And we're going to help them sponsor. We're going to help them promote that event.
Love it.
The other side of the event is we actually have people out there.
I was just maybe do you do live remotes on
live remote. Yeah. Yes. Now, we do live remotes. Yes.
Yes.
There's some nuances behind the scenes that we can get into at a later date, but yes.
Yes.
And then on the video side, that kind of falls back to the digital side, where you hear about us on the radio, or you hear about the client on the radio. Then you see the digital ad, the display ad pops up. They click that link, up pops a video, 30-second, 15-second commercial.
Yeah, makes sense.
The visual side of that. So that's the video side of things.
So that's a nice little bow on the package, so to speak, because that's a really smart way to implement video with radio, because obviously everybody knows the Buggles. They all think that video killed the radio star, but in fact, we actually work quite well together.
Yes.
So
90% of people listen to the radio.
Yeah.
5.25 hours per week. Now, is that drive time? Is that during work? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Their ears are on the radio.
Their ears are moving.
Yep.
Their eardrums are vibrating.
Yeah, and of course, if you couldn't tell, I still have a passion for it. Now, it is one of these things that I do love having somebody currently in it kind of refresh me in the world that is today with it, because everything changed after COVID. I know it had to have, because I left during COVID.
Oh my. Okay.
I left 2020 is when I had stepped out of the radio industry and came to Omaha. Long time ago. It feels like forever ago, but I realized it's only about 4 years ago.
Actually, it's 5 years now.
Yeah.
5 years next. We're all getting older.
I felt the gray start to go through my hair there.
And just for the record, I don't want to go back.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. Now, I am very curious to kind of get your perspective on this, because I always felt like back in my time in radio, there were a lot of different ways people could advertise and people could market their businesses that they didn't utilize, because either it didn't have, the right DJ attached to it, or it didn't have the right time slot, quote unquote, there. Things like that I've kind of come across. But I'm curious, since you offer a little bit more than just radio, obviously, you have quite a bit of services here. Out of those services, what do you feel is one that you either like to talk about most with clients to get them engaged with it? And maybe what's a service that you feel maybe kind of gets passed by from clients, or they overlook it or try to go past it?
Sure. What I'm hearing is, or a common pushback is, oh my God, that's expensive. Or, oh my gosh, that's expensive.
Hey, you can say God on here. We're not on the air. You can say that one.
It's all relative.
Yeah.
Now, is it more expensive than you doing an email campaign on your own platform yourself?
Yeah, of course. But
because
how
the
much
DJ wants to get paid.
Yeah.
But with that, I can get you in front of, depending on what station is, anywhere from 50 to 100,000 people per week. Can we do that for $1.95? No. Because I want to get paid too, because my commission comes out of that someplace.
Yeah, and radio DJs do like to eat, contrary to popular belief.
Yes.
We do like to eat.
Ramen noodles are popular at the office.
The bunch of champions.
But is it going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars? No.
No way.
And we can make it very effective and very cost efficient. We're going to sit down and figure out the best campaign, best reach, the best frequency to get your message in front of the right people and be productive about it. And it will take time.
Of course.
It's not a 1 month and done.
I feel like that's a lot of people, whenever they try to dabble into something like advertising or marketing, they always just think it's, I just do this for a month and I'll get results, or I'll do this for a couple weeks and I'll get results. I hate to break it to you, and I hate to burst the bubble here.
Yes.
It takes much longer than that for any sort of traction to be visibly seen.
Yes.
It just does. I mean, if there's a shortcut to it, it's you went viral. You did something either ridiculous, funny, or atrocious, and you have attention somehow.
And the reason we're talking about those is because they happen once in a while.
Exactly. It's a blue moon that happens.
It's the people doing the daily grind.
Yes.
Making 50, 100 sales calls a day for 5 days a week. Those are the ones who are making it.
Yep.
We can help you get in front of those people consistently. And over time, that's just going to raise the tide for you.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, we kind of touched on that pushback. Was there any that you kind of feel gets underutilized by clients? Some of those services that you might offer, some that maybe you brought up expense. Is there any of like the packages or anything like that you sometimes get a client that raises their eyebrow and they're like, well, I like all of this, but I don't like this. And try to be a little more picky and choosy about that. And how do you kind of work with them on that?
So we, as my boss, he calls it, if you can't, if the whole station doesn't work for their budget or whatever they're trying to do with their messaging, work with part of the station.
That's interesting.
So instead of trying to get their message all day, every day, all week, every week for the month, maybe just a morning drive.
Sure.
Or maybe just the daytime.
Drive at 5 or stuff, just certain key points in the day.
Or maybe the 10 to 3 slot where the people are at work listening in the background. Mm-hmm. So that can be very effective and cost efficient.
Absolutely.
Cost effective, cost efficient.
Both work, I think, in this regard. You want to be efficient with how you're spending money. Now, of course, I've mentioned it a couple times. I am an old radio DJ myself. I have 7 years of the industry at my disposal. It might be weird for listeners to hear me say this. I loved cutting commercials. Mm-hmm. That was like my favorite thing to do at the station. Yes, I loved being on air. Yes, I loved doing the remotes. Yes, I loved driving the station truck. But doing the commercial work was always kind of the really fun part that I loved because I got to create it from start to beginning. Usually, I would get handed a script and be told, cut the commercial. Well, that means I'm adding the music, I'm doing the inflection, I'm making the commercial sound how it sounds, which was something I loved.
Yes.
Now, with that in mind, can you break down for me how some of the radio commercials have a little bit greater reach than TV? You'd kind of made a little bit of a mention that 90% of people are listening to the radio at some point in time.
Right.
Is there any further into that we can maybe dive? Because I know, I don't want to. Again, I'm not throwing shade onto TV here.
Right.
Not the message here at all. But radio is, I feel like, still a really great accessible tool that people sometimes just overlook.
So, good question. And let me give you this scenario. A client is advertising on both radio and TV.
Yep.
And maybe they're doing billboards going down the interstate. When you hear something, you don't hear the radio, or you don't remember the radio waves.
Right.
You remember the picture. Well, you may have been on the TV 3 months ago and haven't been on since, but you kept the radio going as a way to stay in front of people. When they remembered you, they saw the picture. Mm-hmm. So TV and radio work very well together. Mm-hmm. TV is expensive, yes.
Yeah.
But again, it's all ROI.
Exactly. What can you get back from it?
Yes. Return on investment. But working in conjunction, the radio can help stimulate those pictures in their mind so that when they hear you and need you, they remember you.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice way to put it, because I think of things that are still to this day burned into my head from the time in radio, like literally a scoreboard sponsor or a timeout sponsor or our Faith Regional Health Services scoreboard. There are so many things that just because of repetition alone, you have people picture at least the name, and then they see something that might correlate with like a TV ad or maybe a digital advertisement. Now they've got the picture.
Right.
And I think that that's a really, really nice way to word that it's all supplemental. It's like, eating healthy and working out. They go hand in hand. You can do one and the other, but they work best together.
And the jingle.
Yeah.
Like I said,
I love jingles.
2 old beef patty special sauce, blah, blah, blah. I can still recite that because it's a jingle. Mm-hmm. Endorsements are powerful.
Yeah.
Because a voice that you recognize from hearing it daily, every morning, talks about they're using your services, or if not using, they're promoting your services. But the jingle sticks in your head.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to pound on a table too much.
No, you're good. You're good. But I'm right there with you, because I still T-shirt engineers.
Let me get back to the budgeting a little bit.
Yeah.
Going back to business school, the ratio of your marketing budget to your revenue dollars, it's always ingrained in us that you need to spend about 5% of your revenue, of your sales, back into marketing to get your message out.
Interesting.
So make the math easy for me.
Yeah.
You have $1 million in sales per year, the $50,000. Is that right? 50,000? 50,000.
I think, yeah, 50,000 sounds right.
Make sure you edit that to make sure we
do the math. Editor Matt, make us seem smart. Put up the number right there on the screen.
So when I put a budget together and it's $1,000 per month for 6 months, oh my gosh, that's expensive. In the grand scheme of things, you got to spend a little bit to get some. And again, if we're getting your message out to 80,000, 90,000 plus people every week, and it's driving them to your door, and you're selling $1 million, to me, that math makes sense.
Yeah.
So
no, it definitely makes sense. And I think again, people need to remember that the old adage, you got to spend money to make money, exists for a reason. And a lot of times it's not just a ploy to make you spend money. It's actually real. If you want to have successful traction, you want to have successful ROIs, you have to invest things. That's just a key fact of business.
There's an old adage, Burger King, McDonald's, Budweiser, Walmart, they are spending $1 million per day every single day of the year, not because you have not heard of them.
Yep. To keep you top of mind.
To keep them top of mind when you're hungry, thirsty, or need something.
Absolutely. Yes. That's why Budweiser went on that campaign for years and years. They're the king of beers. And they enforce that so much. They don't really brag about that anymore. But to me, I still think, Budweiser's the king of beers.
Or the Clydesdales.
Yeah. Or the Clydesdale horses.
Gosh.
Yeah. So much has changed in the advertising world. It's fun to think about like where some of those companies really boomed and it kind of started in snowballing.
Right. So that goes back to my 5% of your sales goes back into marketing. Oh my gosh, that's $365 million. Well, when you look at a company that's doing $4 billion a year, come on. That math
that's
is
a
easy.
drop in the bucket.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I do. Again, I want to reinforce for any business owners that are out there listening to today's show, be sure you have a conversation with a professional like yourself. You can run through the details. You can run through packages that are going to work for them, where your dollars are best spent, and not making you go too far out of your budget realm. Because sometimes you got to push people a little further than what they quote unquote want to spend.
Right.
Again, part of that return on investment.
And my goal is not to get the money out of you today.
Right.
Well, yes, it is, but my goal
that's
is
just business, though.
My goal is to get you making money.
Yes.
For the rest of the year, the rest of the decade, and we can have a partnership here.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people in your field and my former field, sometimes it's more of a synergistic relationship than people might think. It's not necessarily just, I'm your sales rep. It's, hey, I'm a friend of yours. Like, I'm here to help you grow this thing every step of the way. And here's how I can utilize my expertise to do that.
Well, going back to the, I keep saying agency and I can't get it out right. The employment agency.
Yeah.
If I was the order taker, let's get you on 94.1. Can I get your credit card, please?
Exactly.
Instead, we had a conversation, asked the questions, got what they were looking for.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what they were looking for.
Yeah.
They just knew what they thought they wanted.
And that's, to me, I think about, somebody comes into you, they know what they want, so to speak, and then they throw money at you to do it my way, and they're never happy with the result because they didn't listen to anything.
And they are PO'd.
And they're mad because you took my money and you spent my money and you did this, and you didn't listen to anything I had to tell you. And if you would have listened, I would have told you you're wasting your money here where we can utilize it here. And I think, again, just boils back down to a conversation with a good, trusted professional like yourself. Of course, for the listeners at home, we're sitting across from Greg Good with Summit Media. He is a marketing strategy lead with Summit Media.
Which is a fancy word for account executive.
Exactly.
Or sales guy.
Or sales guy. You can call him whatever, just don't call him late for lunch. And underneath your radio section of your website here, lots of different articles on there about how to kind of break down a lot of the common misconceptions in the radio world. I had a field day with these. I have maybe wasted a little too much of my personal time that night reading some of these. But I am very curious on your opinion here. What's been something in your time now with Summit Media that's been kind of one of those moments of, whoa, it's not like that, and a complete misconception just unraveled in front of you? If any.
Gosh, where do I start? The what you're talking about is the blogs that we have on our website. And those are how-tos, they are case studies, they are tidbits about the industry, and we can tailor those towards your company specifically. But if you're looking for what did you do, how did it happen, and what were the results, that's what those blogs are for. They're case studies to get an idea how we can tailor a message to fit your audience and help you drive people to your website or your front door.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great information on there. Just in your time at Summit Media, has there been anybody or anything that you've kind of like gotten into the groove and then you just got completely surprised by and, that's not how I thought that was at all?
Yes. I've spent 20 years in the direct marketing business, selling marketing data, databases, lists, direct mail, and that such. When I got over here to Summit Media, one of the reasons I got here was my boss, Mike Hogan. He's been in the industry for 35 plus years and a great mentor. And I thought I knew quite a bit about selling and marketing. I am catching myself realizing, wow, get out of your bubble, Greg, and learn some new stuff. And I am having a lot of fun doing this.
I love that.
I am just over the moon with the opportunities and learning the new challenges. But a simple one that came up is I had a client prospect, I guess, push back and said, no, we can't do that. It doesn't work that way. Went back to Mike and said, well, he said, it doesn't work that way. Can't do it. Doesn't want to. You can see him thinking. And all of a sudden he goes, well, did you come back with, how about this? And the fun part is not just listening to the clients and taking no for no.
Sure.
Which at some point you have to.
At some point you have to.
Yeah. But no doesn't mean no forever. Yep. And maybe there's a different way to come at it. And again, I'm going to go back to the agency, the employment agency. 94.1 wasn't the right audience for what they were looking for, but let's come over here with Z92 and classic rock.
Yeah.
And Star, for example. Too.
Yeah. And I think that's really something that, getting a little peek behind the curtain like that, I think that's something that listeners can gravitate and latch onto, that, it's not just about, hey, go get that sale. It's, hey, well, can you try navigating, can you try shifting a little bit for your customer and try to see if that works better for them rather than, and I love that. I'm a big proponent of working with business to grow business. So, and it sounds exactly what you're doing.
Yes. And of course, it's not just one and done.
Of course.
Because we're going to do this over time with you. You might sign up for 6 months or an entire year with us, but we're going to sit down with you each month and see how the results are coming in. If they're coming in as expected or better, great. Can we keep that going?
Right.
The other side is, well, we're not getting what we thought we were getting. Well, let's look at that. Let's tweak it.
Let's see why.
And maybe there's a different messaging. Maybe we got them going to the wrong page on your website.
Yeah.
Maybe there's too many steps to get to the right page. There was a company that was looking to hire truck drivers, and the original message took them to the front page, the home page of the website. To get to the application side, it was 7 steps down the road.
Yeah, you lost your interest at 2.
Yeah. Do that on a cell phone or on a wireless device. You can't do it.
Impossible.
So figure that out. Oh, well, let's put the link in there to get them right to that. And you got 2 questions. What's your name? What's your email address? Because you're on the right page. Now let's let recruitment get back to you.
Exactly.
And they stopped using us because they hired enough people in that 3 months.
Which again, that's, people might hear that. It's like, oh, they stopped using you. Oh, okay.
Because it worked.
Exactly. You got them to a point where they got to where they wanted to be. Exactly. Which is so powerful. And honestly, that's got to feel great, seeing a client go from where they want, having a struggle, and then being able to correct that to be, now they are where they should be.
Yes.
I love that. Now, underneath, I did talk about your radio section there and little misconceptions around there. Go check out the blogs. Again, we're talking about Summit Media. Of course, the website will list all of these, but all the stations included are Channel 94.1, AM 590, that's the ESPN here in Omaha, and Classic Rock 105.9, Star 104.5, and the Todd and Tyler Radio Empire. That one was a little tougher to read. Sorry, I had to cock my head a little bit there. And then, of course, Z92.
Yes.
Love all of those. Of course, Todd and Tyler show's been around for quite a while now.
They've been on for 30 years.
Oh, geez.
And in the radio industry for
That's just a show.
One show. One show. That's unheard of. That's crazy.
It's really impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, for clarity for the listeners at home, your longest running radio shows, you got to remember, this is like Howard Stern. Mm-hmm. This is Alice Cooper and Twisted, and Dee Snider from Twisted, who have been just kind of doing it on the side for years and years and years. These guys have been like a true blue show from day one, similar to Bob and Tom from when they started. I think they ran for 25 years or something similar too. Like very, very unheard of when you get these acts that are there and these shows that are so captivating.
Oh, they're on the same station.
Yeah.
You mentioned Howard Stern. He's gone to various platforms.
Yeah.
But
he's basically left his radio empire and did online and started to dabble in everything else.
Yes.
But to still be a true blue 30-year into it, still going strong is
Todd
awesome.
and Tyler, they've been on Z92 for 30 years. It is fascinating to, when I say radio voice, listen to them talk on the radio, and then they come out to get a cup of coffee or whatever they have to do. It's having a fun conversation with very, very quiet, soft-spoken. Yes.
Yeah, very nice guys. And again, I joke because if you meet them out in public, they're not going to be that way. Just a spoiler alert, unless you catch them like they're not working.
Yeah.
Of course. But I always laughed about that because people would come up to me at events too and like, oh, hey, and start talking to me. And they're like, oh, you sound just like you do on the radio. I'm like, no, I don't. But I'm in public right now, but I do right now. So it is kind of funny to have those little almost parallel personalities.
Yes.
So very, very cool. And I just wanted to give them all a little mention here midway through the show because, again, we are sitting down with Summit Media, one of the prominent radio networks right here in Omaha.
And we give a plug for Sadie. She's our afternoon person on Channel 94.1.
Shout out to Sadie.
And then Terry is on our Star 104.9.
104.5.
104.5, sorry. See, it's classic rock 104.9. Star 104.5, yes. And love having conversations with both of them. And then Big Party and his group is in the morning as well on Channel 94.1. They just did Channel 94.1 just before the holidays. We did our annual diaper drive.
Oh, nice. How'd that turn out?
We filled a truck.
Wow.
A semi-trailer full of diapers.
Wow.
And
Awesome.
it is, we're standing out there in 30-degree weather all day long, throwing diapers into the back of the semis, and there's just a caravan of cars stopping in. And that was a great event. Yeah.
I love that. I need an applause button.
Yeah.
But congratulations on doing that for the diaper drive. That's going to be massively impactful.
Yes.
So love hearing about that.
And a truckload of diapers, think in the 400,000 diapers.
Yeah.
I know for the new moms and dads out there, that doesn't sound like a lot because I've seen what that goes through. But that's a lot of diapers.
That's a lot of diapers.
Yes.
Holy smokes. So awesome work by the crew at Summit Media to help all orchestrate that and put that together for people. Now, of course, last thing about radio here, I will brush past this question because we have talked about the stations you guys encompass here. Mm-hmm. Who's a couple of your favorite DJs? Not to put you on the spot and not to play favorites here.
All of them for their different personalities.
I like that.
And different conversations I've had with each of them. Yeah, a couple of them when I first got there, I'm sitting in the sales bullpen, and they don't know me from Adam. Mm-hmm. But all of them came up, introduced themselves, shook my hand, had a great conversation with all the ones that we have here in Omaha. So.
It's pretty rare. I don't think I've really met a lot of them, but I've met a couple. It's pretty rare you find a standoff DJ. I'll put it that way. They're pretty rare that they're going to be either too arrogant or too up their own smoke here to talk to you. So it's always really nice that it just kind of keeps being reiterated that the industry that I chose from the get-go was still a nice one. It's always nice to hear that people are still being good in that industry. Now, switching over into a little bit more into the digital advertisement space here, I'm very curious since it's something I kind of learn maybe a little more, maybe new things every day, so to speak. I'm very curious, how are some of the ways you can help digital market or kind of advertise for your clients? Because, again, everything's changing so quickly. Mm-hmm. And I'm so curious how you guys stay on top of those trends and really capitalize it for your clients.
We throw a lot of money at it.
Yeah.
We throw a lot of resources. We throw a lot of people. So one pushback I get is common from business owners or a marketing department. Oh, I've got somebody who handles my Facebook.
Yep. I've got a social media guy.
I got a social media guy. He's also the part-time sales guy, part-time operations.
Mm-hmm. And he posts once a week.
Uh-huh. Facebook is not a platform that's just there for your benefit.
Right.
Can you use it towards your benefit? Absolutely,
Sure.
yes. That's why we do that. But it is a business. And why are businesses in business? To make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
So when Facebook first started, you could make a post, or you could put a post up, and everybody on Facebook saw it,
Yep.
or a large majority of them. Facebook, it makes trillions of dollars a year. I think billions of dollars a year.
I'm sure by this point it's probably hit the
It might be
trillions.
getting the trillion, yeah. But they make that money because they are pushing advertising.
Yep. Oh, boost your post for $1 here.
Yes.
Boost your post for $5 here.
So one of my aha moments was talking with our digital people when I first got here. And he shared with me that when you post something to your Facebook post, it's going to just people who are your friends and who follow you, nobody else. And not all of them either.
Yeah.
If you boost it, you might, and so that's less than 5%, just to draw a line in the sand. If you boost that, you might get to 10%. So we've got a team, you've got a guy who's doing it for you in the back. He's boosting them, he's posting, he's whatever he's doing back
Sure.
there. I've got 250 people that's their job, is to help create get your message out there to the audience that you're not talking to already.
Right.
Preaching to the choir. Well, that's what you're doing by posting.
Yeah.
Let me help you talk to the rest of the city. And again, going through doing an email campaign, and then as those people open those, 10% of those will open. We get 10% to open. Then we redirect display and Facebook to them. So that's a whole new audience that you have not reached before that is now getting to your website. You can collect their information, get an email address from them, and start retargeting them.
And I think what's kind of nice about that entire process is it's trackable. So if you have that business owner who's very conscientious of where is everything going at all times, there's a lot of proof that you can say, okay, because of A, we are now here at step C. We're going to walk you through what happened to B.
Yeah.
Which
Now,
I think is great.
don't get into the weeds too much.
Exactly.
You can overanalyze everything. It's
Can.
even with digital, it's very measurable, but it still has to go over time.
Yep.
You're not going to make one post and it's going to drive dollars.
Nope.
You're going to do this over time, and it's 6 months to a year. Just like the radio side, it's branding and awareness. With digital, it's very targeted, but you have to say it consistently.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great thing to reaffirm there because, again, advertising, marketing falls hand in hand with each other all the time. And it is one of those things that, I could throw my broadcast school out the window here and literally tell you that as an insurance person, as whatever category, carpenter when I was growing up, I can tell you that you need to not get so hung up on things when they're a little bit out of your control and things that are slightly intangible, like digital numbers. Like, yes, you can track them, but again, during X amount of time, how's that going to look? Is it going to look like a graph? Is it going to look like a ping pong table? There's a lot of things that play into those.
And what are your expectations?
Yeah.
What are your KPIs?
Yeah.
What do you want to happen? If you come to me and say, Greg, I want $1 million to happen. Well, thank you.
Let's break that down over the next 20 years.
Yes, let's break that down a little bit. And then let's look at what we can do to help drive those dollars.
Yeah.
If your idea is or your want is to get more visitors to your website, to get more signups,
Yeah.
to get more drivers, we can help do that. I can get them to your front door. I can't sell them for you. That's your job.
You can show us the door, you can't open it.
You have to. I can get them and ringing the doorbell, as Mike says. I can help them ring the doorbell. You still got to answer it.
Yep.
And I can't sell them the car. I can't hire them for a driver. I can't hire them for a packaging company. But I can get them to your door.
Yeah, and I think that itself is worth its weight in gold sometimes because good help is hard to find these days. But getting the right, especially when it's advertisement, clientele, when you have all that set up correctly, life is a lot easier. We'll put it that way. Life's a lot easier.
Yes.
Now, of course, we've talked a lot about different ways to advertise and different ways to be involved. Events are something that we touched on briefly. Now, I'm more curious, what are some station events that are going to be coming up or anything that you'd like to mention out for any clients?
I would love to mention and rattle off a bunch of those.
Rattle them.
There is no way I'm going to be able to do that. So the best way to do that.
I was going to test your radio abilities here.
No. The best way is to go to our website.
Yes.
Check out the stations, and then there's upcoming events, and it'll vary depending on what station you're on.
Yep.
But there's concerts, there's live events, there's, hey, we're going to be at this location type thing.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to see what's coming up, what's new and happening.
I think that's the best way to promote it because I always tell people don't get super specific with events unless they're really far out because it's a podcast. It'll run for you.
Or if it's happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be there.
Oh, yeah. Well, it might be a little short by the time you hear this. But that does kind of lead us kind of into our event marketing conversation here. Mm-hmm. I would like to talk a little bit more about boosting sales and maybe how the digital side can help complement the event side of things when they're working with Summit Media. Because we'd mentioned before, on-site locations, live remotes, things like that can really help boost those. What is it about maybe the advertisements leading up to that event or maybe some of that promotional work beforehand that can really help assist all that?
So if I'm understanding your question.
I know there's a little bit of a twist of a question here.
So I guess the big picture answer to that is going to be getting the awareness of what is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So let people know there's going to be a diaper drive. Maybe doing a digital side to target as they visit our website. Maybe we retarget them to say, hey, diaper drive.
Yeah.
And then the action side, bring some diapers and we'll help you load them into the truck. Fun thing is we took pictures of families with their kids and throwing diapers into the truck. So.
Love it. I'll reword my second part of that question. Okay. I thought of a way better way to word that. I don't know what I was thinking there. The second part of that is more so I wanted to maybe propose out there for businesses that are interested in doing events like this. Mm-hmm. What's an appropriate time to come talk with you about getting an event on the books and how far out should they come talk to you?
Sure. Now.
Yes. Always now.
Sooner than later. And to give you a time frame of what it's going to take to do something depends on the event.
We always ballpark people about a month to 2 months to advertise it.
Let's go with that. But if you got some coming up this spring or this summer, let's start having conversations about that to see what that's going to look like. And we've got to line up the assets.
Yeah.
We've got to line up the DJs. We've got to line up the trucks, the vehicles.
Got to make sure there's a station vehicle ready to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Always sooner than later. Don't call me this week for something that's going to happen the end of next week. Can we make that happen? Well, probably.
Is it going to be what you want it to be? That's the question. Yeah.
Oh, can I get your credit card?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and by the way, I know it wasn't what it was all cracked up to be, but you still owe me.
So
exactly. So definitely have that conversation with you. Get in, again, earlier rather than later.
Planning and getting things lined up and managing expectations leads to successful events, programs, campaigns.
I love that. That's a really nice way to put it as well. Now, pretty much one of the last tabs on your website was blogs. We kind of touched on this a little bit.
Yep.
Very good information out there. I just wanted to make another note of it for the public to kind of go to it, check this out. There's a bunch of information that is very free and very accessible and very palatable.
Yes.
So definitely go check this out. I very much encourage it just for personal research.
And then you'll also see a lot of those conversations, those blog conversations. Yeah. You'll see those in our LinkedIn and Facebook post as well. And I don't know those sites off the top of my head, but go to our website and you'll see the links at the bottom of the page.
Absolutely. And one of the things on there I wanted to ask you about, because again, this might be a way above you kind of answer kind of thing or question, I should say, but what was some of the intentionality, or do you know some of the intentionality of making all of that content on there so readily available to the public? A lot of places will try to charge people for information like that. So it took me by a little surprise that you guys are offering it for free. It's great information. It's not like, oh, well, you can see the first paragraph and then you have to pay the subscription to see the rest. It's there.
It's there.
I love it.
Yeah, it's information. It's knowledge. Use it.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, going back to, I got a guy. Or I've got a guy who does that he's the janitor. not to pick on janitors, but one person can't make your marketing.
Yeah.
Let me bring a team to that and get your message out cost effectively.
Yep. Let's meet you where you need to be and where you're wanting to be.
Yes.
Love that. So, a couple more questions here before we wrap up the show.
Okay.
Don't worry, we're almost to that point.
Yep.
But I am very curious. What is something you feel since you've now been with Summit Media and had this journey beginning here so far? What's been a major pride point for you?
Getting back to the local market.
Yeah.
I started I'm dating myself.
Sure.
I started in a family-run vending company, snack and beverage vending, pops, snacks, chips, so on and so forth. And I was in Omaha. I could probably walk into some place and know somebody. As I got out of that, my market expanded to the entire U.S. Lots of opportunities, had a great time doing it, but the Omaha market just wasn't big enough to support what I needed.
Yeah.
Well, with getting back to Summit Media, I can now get back and talk with the business owners that I'm driving by every day. I can have conversations with you here in Omaha, 132nd and Maple, by the way.
Absolutely. Come on by.
So being able to get in front of clients again and have conversations literally face-to-face instead of Zoom and Teams and a phone call, that's the fun thing to get back to.
I love that because I'm a big face-to-face interaction guy. We can correspond through email all day. That's fine. But until I'm face-to-face with them, that's where I can read the person, they can read me, and that's just how it builds for me.
Oh, you are an idiot. Oh, okay. Now I understand.
It's like,
now I understand.
It's like, I see why your emails didn't make sense. Yes, yeah. So in that same light, from getting back into your Omaha roots here, so to speak, and getting back in touch with the community, what would you say has been one of the more challenging or maybe pain points or growing points, so to speak, with Summit Media and going forward for your clients?
I've been drinking from a fire hose, learning all of the new stuff. I've been doing sales and marketing for clients for 20 years. Learning the new ways I can do it and opening up all of the new opportunities that I can bring to the table for clients. One client I've been working with for years, doing just one thing, talking to her about Summit Media. We're giggling with all the new things that I can bring to the table to help get her message out. And it's been a challenge to, here's the encyclopedia.
Right.
Okay, now what?
Yeah.
What page do I turn to? That's the challenging yet fun part of what I'm getting to do right now.
I love that.
And I've got a great team. Both the other account executives, they've been welcoming. I am irritating the heck out of them with all the questions I've been asking.
But hey, I'm sure they'd rather you ask the questions than just gunslinger it and do your own thing.
And they have been very good about helping me and saying, "Oh no, that's a dumb idea. Oh, let's try it this way." Or, "Hey, did you try this with them?" And it's like, wow. And then the resources that Summit Media itself is bringing to the table, the sales training, the support from management, has been incredible.
I love that.
Again, having fun.
It feels like it's really coming from a place of passion as well, because now it feels like you're reinvigorated. It feels like you're really just, I'm whole hog into this thing. I love it. Yeah. And it gets me excited.
Look out, Omaha, here we come.
Yeah, look out, Omaha, because Summit Media growing and growing.
That is the intent. Mike Hogan's the new market president. He came on in August.
Awesome.
And again, he has 35 years in the industry, and he's loving it as well.
That's the important part.
He's getting to train people, i.e. me, and some other new people on board, and then helping the existing people, the existing sales staff, get better.
I love that.
You can always get better.
I've never met anybody who can't.
Yes. And if they can't, well...
That's an attitude issue.
That's an attitude issue.
Yep, that's an attitude issue at that point. Now, one of my last questions here on we'll call it the professional side of the coin. Mm-hmm. I'm very curious, what's something you'd love listeners to either know a little bit more about when it comes to Summit Media, or maybe about the broadcast and advertising industry in general?
That's a great question. Let me get back to you on that when I find out what.
That's just part 2, right?
Yes. I guess one of the challenges I've had is, and we started with this, is, hi, this is Greg Good with Summit Media. Who the heck is that? Well, how about Z92? How about Classic Rock 105.9? Oh, those guys. Got it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, yes, we're going to brand the stations, but learning how to navigate that is...
That's a really interesting point that you bring up, too, because, I've thought about that, and I've never considered it or really given it much thought outside of like a broadcast perspective. Because broadcaster perspective, I say, I know Summit Media, I know Alpha Media, I know iHeartRadio, I know all these different little media companies that own a lot of these, to where the average Joe might not really realize that, Z92 is part of Summit Media.
Right. And maybe we need to back up a step. Who's Summit Media? Summit Media is the owners of our stations.
Yeah.
And we have 9 other markets across the Midwest.
Whoa.
Our headquarters is in Birmingham, Alabama, who I think got snow the other day. So it was fun talking with, I'm going to give a shout out to Olivia. She's our sales support person.
Love that.
And we were on a Teams meeting, and all of a sudden her eyes got yay big, and she went, whoa! She was looking out her window, and it was snowing.
Wow.
In Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah.
Apparently that's a thing down there. So.
I guess. I was like, I didn't know it snowed down that far.
So Summit Media is the umbrella corporation that owns our 5 stations and then the other 5 or 9 markets around the country. So
yeah, and just for full clarity here, and again, being somebody from the broadcast field, there's not a lot of independently owned radio stations anymore. Just from my knowledge on that, the last I had looked, there's not a lot of, there still are.
Yeah.
But again, there's a reason kind of behind that. It's a lot, I don't want to say safer, but it's a lot easier to work synergistically with multiple stations underneath an umbrella than it is to try to go it alone.
Yes.
So there's a lot of reasons why you see a lot of these stations be underneath one umbrella, like you'd mentioned there. So just to kind of give a little peek behind that curtain for listeners, so they're not going, oh, it's corporate radio, it's corporate. That's not really the case. It's still your true blue radio. It's still Todd Tyler in the morning.
Welcome to business in 2025.
Yeah, I'm like, welcome to business where people want to help each other. Crazy concept.
It's still me getting out there talking to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's still your local programs you're listening to.
Yes.
Nothing's changing. I love that.
I just have a bigger support staff behind me.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. Is there's more people in the background to help you accomplish what we're trying to get.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing that you guys do over at Summit Media. And of course, the door's always open. So, if there's a part 2 down the road, whenever that might be, the door's always open for you guys.
Appreciate that.
Love to check back in after you've had about a year into this and just kind of see, man, what's new? What's been the learning curve? What's the exciting thing now?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've been there about 2 months now. October was when I got there. My learning curve has come off of straight up. It's now about 89 degrees.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm enjoying this. I'm having fun with learning all the new things we get to learn and helping clients with all the new things I can bring to the table.
Absolutely, man. That's what it's all about. That really is what it's all about, is helping clients grow as we all grow ourselves. Now, that does wrap up my business side of the questions of the day here. Is there anything else you'd like people to know about Summit Media that I may have missed?
Greg.good@summitmediacorp, as in corporation.com. That's my email address.
And you know what? I'll put it in the description of this episode.
Perfect. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
Perfect. Yeah, that'll be down in the description of this episode, both on Spotify and YouTube. So if you are seeing this on either platform, give Greg an email.
Sure.
Talk to him. See what those questions are you need to be asking for your next advertising venture.
Or call in and talk to Sadie or Terry or Todd and Tyler or Big P or Big Party. Confusing. We got Big P and Big Party.
I was just about to say.
Two separate people.
Really?
Yeah. But call into the station. Tell them, hey, Greg sent me.
Yeah.
Let's see how that goes over.
Yeah. If you're hearing this and you call into those stations, tell them Greg told you to call just to see the little
Greg
little
who?
okay. Did you have somebody walking out? Do you have a Greg in here? I love it. Now, wrapping everything up on that side of things, I like to call this side of the show the personal side of the coin. It's our dessert of the show. It's usually what people remember when we're leaving them off.
Yep.
Now, I am not a winter guy. If you couldn't tell by my obnoxiously loud shirt underneath of my hoodie, I am a
I love the color, by the way. It's a flower
it's
Hawaii
a Mario shirt.
It's a Mario shirt, even better.
I guess I didn't sport that. I'm actually rocking a Super Mario shirt today. Mario
Where'd you
Hawaii.
get that?
My girlfriend got it for me for Christmas.
Okay, she's gonna have to post in the blog or in the notes where she got that.
Oh yeah, because I kid you not, I actually have, from my time in radio, a Hawaiian shirt collection.
My goodness.
That started as a gag, and it turned into, I actually like these. So I've just been stuck with them.
Okay.
But I digress. I'm the summer child, heart through and through. Yep. I hate the winter. The air hurts my face, and I can't take it. But not everybody's like me. I like to ask if there's anything you look forward to in winter or gets you excited.
I love the change in the
Interesting.
seasons. Yes. You go to San Diego, Florida, or the other side, you go to Minnesota.
Sure.
It's cold or hot.
Yeah, there's not really an in-between, I suppose.
So I love the change in the season. I love the winter when I can get out and walk in the snow with my I've got literally a 20-pound leather coat here. Get out there and walk the dogs. But I also love getting out in the summer and riding my bike. I'm one of those guys that lycra and spandex, and I'm out on the road. So
hey, and then you're getting the exercise that 90% of people aren't.
Yes. So I got into riding bikes because you can drink more beer when you ride bikes because you're burning those calories off.
I like that. I like where your head's at.
The catch is you got to keep riding the bike to burn the calories off.
See, now you lost. Hang on.
But then I love the fall when things start cooling down, and then of course spring. The new season's coming in, so. Yeah,
I'll give it credit. I do like our changes of season, but winter. Oof, I've never been able to see eye to eye with winter.
Well, it goes away eventually.
It does. Hopefully. Sometimes it just drags its feet.
Exactly. Yes.
Now, this question I love asking to all sorts of guests that we've had on the show because all of my answers have actually been uniquely different. There's been some common, but I ask people what I call the Mount Rushmore, what your Mount Rushmore is currently of Omaha, because there's so much here. Whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a place to go see, we have so much.
Yes. I'm going to fall back to I like to change answer a little bit. I've really found out Omaha is a very small, big city.
Yeah.
And let me give an example. I met a prospective client. Him and I stopped at a local watering hole that he wanted to show me. And wow, this place is pretty cool. And I'm trying to remember the name off the top of my head, but I can't. But we get in there, and through a conversation, him and I he mentioned one of his coworkers. Long story short, I know her through some volunteering with the Humane Society.
Very cool.
I've also, years ago, I was playing a lot of poker at the various free poker venues, and her and I played poker a lot together. He texted her while we were talking. Oh yeah, Greg from poker. Well, while we're talking, in walks two ladies. They sit down at the table next to us, and I recognize one as a lady I volunteer with at Humane Society. I didn't know the second one. Pretty soon, here comes the third one, sits down with him. She was a sorority sister of my sister that I knew. I knew my sister in college, yes, I did. But I knew Kendra from college. Well, I finish up the meeting, and I sit down and talk with them, and the second girl walks in. Do you know so-and-so? Yeah, that's my sister's brother-in-law. Oh, that was his ex-wife. So in one conversation,
meet six people that
360 degrees of separation came around.
Wow.
Or here's another fun one, going back to how big the media industry is in Omaha. Volunteering again at the Nebraska Humane Society. Adopt, don't shop.
We are big proponents of that here.
Talking with somebody there, and so-and-so. Well, his mom volunteers here. No, she doesn't. Come to find out, Claudia, who has been a very strong proponent of the media industry here in Omaha. her and I have been talking for a year. I didn't know who she was. I had no idea. Well, she found out I was starting with Summit Media.
Yeah.
Her and I are becoming very close friends now.
That's awesome.
So 2 degrees of separation is.
Wow.
So what's my Mount Rushmore of Omaha? It's the people, it's the connections, and it's the very small, big town.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, I'm from the Sandhills originally. I grew up in what's actually classified as a village. It's not big enough to be a town even.
Okay.
I think
But is it incorporated?
I'll have to look.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we are or not. Well, I'm not sure if we are, but I remember when I was there, I think there was about 110 was the population.
Okay.
Or about 120, somewhere around there. My graduating class was 10 people.
Oh, my goodness.
Counting myself and a foreign exchange student from China.
And
How she landed in Taylor, Nebraska.
Exactly.
Nobody knows. We were all so confused. We're like, you went from like the density of China to Taylor, Nebraska, where you can see for miles.
On purpose.
On purpose. She loved it. She was
good for her.
Through the moon. She had never experienced a countryside like that. And that was kind of her take from her foreign exchange student program was she wanted to go not to just another city.
Sure.
Because she kind of thought if I succeed in my career, I can always come back and visit those cities that I do want to see. She wanted to go see country that she really couldn't see, which I thought that was such a unique perspective just to have on that.
And how big picture of her. Yeah.
At like 16, 17 years old. And she had that much of a grounded attitude about it. I was blown away.
I was trying to figure out how to get my first date when I was 16.
Yeah, me too. I'm sitting there. I'm like, I have way other things on my brain. But to wrap up the show here, I've got one final question. I love asking this one as well. What is something here in Omaha that you wish either more people knew about or more people supported more?
Sure. I'm going to plug the Nebraska Humane Society.
Love it.
Been there. I've been volunteering there, working with the dogs specifically for 15 plus years now.
Love it.
And yes, it was my wife who got me started there, and Sally Zachary was the lead, the head of volunteer people there. She's the vice president of volunteer coordination. And my wife walks in, "Hey, can Greg come help with the dogs?" And Sally, in her infinite wisdom, says, "Sure, come on in." So, and 15 years later, here I am.
Yeah. Yes. I love it. We are big proponents of animal lovers here in the office. It's funny because I was once involved with a shelter as well. Mm-hmm. That was up in Norfolk when I was doing radio.
Okay.
I vividly remember doing a program called Caged for a Cause, where us, the DJs, we went on location, we got into the animal cages, and we would not get out until X amount of dollars were raised or that animal was adopted.
Cool.
It was such a cool, fun event, and I wish we'd done more of it, honestly. I wish it would happen periodically, like quarterly almost, but I understand some of those things you can't quite have quarterly. Sure. But
well, and one of the new things that the Humane Society, Nebraska Humane Society is doing is what we call staycations. And
really?
That might not be the right word for it, but the concept is you can come and John and Jane Doe Public can come in, sign up to take a dog on an outing.
Oh, that's so cool.
Now, we'll line you up with the correct dog that makes sense for you, but you can take a dog out for a couple hours.
That's so
And
nice.
they're going to give you everything you need, including information in case somebody wants to adopt that dog while you're out there. They can come back to the Humane Society and do it. So it's anywhere from a couple hours to a couple days.
I love that.
One key thing people always come back and say is when the dog was on a staycation overnight with them, they just slept. Well, think about this.
Peaceful sleep.
It's peaceful.
Yeah.
It's quiet.
There's no other barking.
There's no barking. There's no commotion. Think of last time you were at the hospital.
Yeah.
You didn't feel so great, and you woke up and you might have a part missing from a surgery, and somebody's yelling down the hallway at you. That's the Humane Society 24/7 for those animals. So
that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
I love them and love the Nebraska Humane Society. Go out and support adoption. We say adopt, don't buy all the time.
Yep.
I still can't picture today's world that people are still buying animals. It's just so surprising to me. Like in today's world where we have all of these animals that are either free or a slow, very gradual fee.
Low cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody that turns around and goes and buys a $700 dog. It's like, what? You could have bought 70 dogs with that.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's another conversation for another day.
Yes. And you can get Pam Weiss in. She'll love to talk with you about
She's
that.
more than welcome to come on the show. I'd love to have him on. But one last time here from, we don't have a studio, so I can't even say broadcasting live from the UIA Trusted Partners Podcast Studio.
Let's go with that.
Well, we'll go with that.
Let's go with that.
We've had the pleasure to have Greg Good, Marketing Strategy Lead with Summit Media, as my guest today. Greg, I want to thank you for coming on to the show. Is there anything you'd like to leave listeners off with?
Dylan, it was a pleasure. And podcasts aren't that scary.
They're not that scary.
So
I appreciate that. Now, Greg, thanks again for coming on the show. And listeners at home, thank you for tuning in to today's program. We will have more on the UIA Trusted Partners Podcast.